All right, eighth note rests are exactly like eighth notes, except totally silent. You're probably noticing the trend here. But here, I'm pointing right now, this thing right here is an eighth note rest, this little swoop. It looks kind of like a fancy 7. And it's very small, but it has this little like diagonal slash here, and this little thing here, and a little dot thing here. It's just a fancy, looks like a fancy little 7. And that is just a silent version of an eighth note. So if I were to, for instance, take out this first eighth note, you see what happens is it put this eighth note rest. It still has the eighth note here, and it sort of broke this off because like, whoa, we're gonna get into something, it's a little bit weird, and then we get back into sort of normal. And so it's automatically trying to make it a little bit easier for us to understand what's going on there. These are barred by beats, so the fact that there's no line across here sort of lets us know, okay, this is like the second half of the measure. It's all there to help you read, make it easier for you, believe it or not. So if we were to like count and play this, we would be counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we would just be quiet wherever those rests were. So I'm actually going to play this for you now, and notice how I'll go much slower. Notice how I count 1 and I start coming on the and. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what we're going to do is something I'm going to make a little bit trickier. I'm going to take out a couple more of these just so that you can sort of follow along. So follow along with your eyes. I'm going to start and count us in, and then I'm going to start playing from here, and I'll play those rests too. Ready? 1 and 2 and ready and go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So by counting those ands, I was better able to know where to come in. And this is going to be tricky. It is going to take some time for you to get used to as these get more complicated. So don't get mad at yourself if you're like, oh, I can't do it anymore. Just give it a couple of days and make sure you come back to it, and it'll start to make sense. Pay attention to the way things are beamed if you'd like. And the way music is written now, especially when it comes out of a computer, it's set up to actually help you understand where those big beats are, where that 1, 2, 3, 4 is as much as possible.